65% of adults on the spectrum have suicidal thoughts and 35% attempt. And that's a high number. And what angers me is parents have power, but they don't know they do.
This is Stephanie Bache, founder of Awesome Match, a mother, a mentor, and the guide every parent wishes they had when the diagnosis hit.
I wanted to be the change in the world. A happy child is not going to equal an unhappy adult. Happy adults start in childhood. We're programmed based on the way that we've been parented. I think the biggest advice is give yourself grace to take years to create the character you need to be for your child. Slow it down and master each hack like a ninja, and just go in with your kid and have fun. We have the ability to guide them. We have the ability to do that in a way that can feel fun and calming with permission for self-care. It can be a beautiful journey. The statistic is reality. And when you hit it, it's so painful. And preventing it is so much more beautiful than having to react to it later.
I imagine some parents watching, listening to this right now feeling, well, how can I relax when my kid has autism? Do you have any tips or tricks to help those parents that are like already feel guilty, like you said, about relaxing after this diagnosis?
The advice at 100% attention needed as a parent would be,
what made you want to create Awesome Match? Because it's not like a normal business.
no.
It's not like, oh, I'm going to, do accounting or do, any typical type of business. It's very, very special, unique. So where did this idea come from? Like, I'm sure there's a story behind that.
I think just the more I discovered what RDI was, with the relationship development intervention, and I understood that like adults on the spectrum and what they're going to go through. From the minute I knew that, and I learned that with working at Pacific Autism Family Network, I don't want to use the word anger because I don't want to associate with any negative emotions, but at the same time, it was, you see, I'm there in the Pacific Autism Family Network. I'm watching another therapy company do ABA therapy. And
ABA, what is
ABA,
that?
Applied Behavioral Analysis.
Okay.
So it's the typical traditional therapy type, and their therapists were lovely. Everyone's lovely. It's just, I think what we miss in traditional therapy is we miss the mark on making sure that mental health is the fundamental before we execute on the therapeutic values of the session. So I think in watching that, but then in knowing that RDI is in place to help prevent that scary statistic of anxiety and depression. I think when you then watch therapy being done and you're like, they're missing these fundamental things, and that these people want to be there. They love to be there. They love these children. Their heart is in it. But people don't know what they don't know. And I think that the reason I chose Awesome Match was because I wanted to be the change in the world. I didn't see other therapy companies making mental health the fundamental component of why you do something. And I really passionately wanted to make a difference for these kids. I wanted to be the change you want to see in the world for sure.
Do you have a personal experience with autism?
Now I do. When I started Awesome Match, I would have known T and loved T for maybe 6 months. And he wasn't yet diagnosed, but I knew the minute I met him. I think like after almost a paragraph talking with him, I looked at his dad and I'm like, what are you doing? And his dad's like, what? And I'm like, your child's autistic. They always kind of knew that he was sensory processing. And I think how the story goes is there was like a pediatrician back in the day at school. It's okay for me to share this, right? I've asked all of them, but I'm just making sure. But like, there was a pediatrician back in the day that kind of like whipped through the school and was like, yeah, his sensory processing and probably Asperger's, and walked away like it was no big deal. Asperger's isn't a term we use anymore. We don't. But back in the day, that's kind of what happened. And Tegan is very intellectual and very smart.
And let people know who Tegan is.
My bonus boy, who's now 19. So he would have been in kindergarten 15 years ago or so. So 15 years ago, a pediatrician just whips through and is kind of like, yeah, like kind of like it's no big deal. Yeah, sensory processing for now, and that's what a lot of pediatricians do. I think what a lot of people don't know, and I think what the disconnect was in Tegan's case was pediatricians don't diagnose autism. Now they can spot it and they can recommend an assessment. Right. And they are part of the assessment here in BC. There's 3 different specialists you need to see before the age of 6. But the number one that you have to see is a psychologist. And I think that the pediatrician didn't catch on and put him in line for an assessment. And the parents just thought, okay, sensory processing, let's just go on. And so they did. And it wasn't until he was in high school and he was going through a lot of anxieties and a lot of things that it really kind of sparked up, in puberty and stuff like that. When you have hormones as a teenager, that's when it sparks up the most. That's when you're going to start seeing a lot of anxieties coming out and ADHD-like tendencies and stuff like that.
So you've worked with a lot of parents, of course, through your business with their kids having autism.
Yeah.
What happens? Their child just got diagnosed.
Yeah.
What are they feeling right now?
I think it really largely depends on where, like, the age and the developmental age of the child. I mean, I would say, like, what you're feeling at if your child's 2 and what you're feeling if your child's already a teenager is going to be a very different story. I would say most of the time, if you look, the biggest question asked is, what can I do for my child now? What do I do now? How can I help? Sadly, one of the most Googled is there a cure for autism? Which we don't speak like that. There's no cure for autism. I don't think any child needs to be cured. I think parents need to learn the inside of their child's brain and celebrate it. I think that it's not necessarily.
I mean, I think that Google search shows what the parents are feeling.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how they probably feeling, like, what are they feeling inside? Are they feeling confused, lost,
guilt,
hope, guilt?
A lot of guilt. A lot of guilt where they're like, is there something I could have done better? Or is there something I have done wrong? Usually the number one indicator, well, there's a lot of number one indicators of autism depending again on the age, but sometimes it's more of behaviors than it is than verbal, communication challenges. And so by the time it gets to like behavioral challenges, and then they're researching behavioral challenges and they see that that's autism, there's a lot of kind of guilt or weight on the parent where they think, did I do something wrong? Could I have parented them different? Should I have disciplined them more sternly? Should I have taken away the iPad so they're not addicted to it? there's so many should I's and could I haves, or did
so they blame themselves.
Yeah, a lot of guilt. And then because I think, and what I think is because there's a lot of guilt, then what they're naturally going to do is go down the rabbit hole in Google of, okay, now that there's guilt and I think maybe I did something wrong, now what do I do to do it right? And then you go down this rabbit hole of, what therapy type do I need? What do I need to do? And trying to understand the power and what you could do now, but almost trickling it on too hardcore. Like, let's get my child into this, and then this, and then this. Right? So
you're seeking understanding.
You're seeking understanding, but also you're seeking like immediate action. It's almost like you're at, like, right when you're diagnosed, you're almost at like this heightened peak of like the climax of the story where you're like, finally got a diagnosis. And then you're like, okay, now that you kind of you were learning about it, curious about it, hoping to get some answers. And then all of a sudden you got the answer that you kind of knew you were going to get. And then now it's like, all right, go action. So it's almost like this adrenaline rush of needing to hoard therapy types or information or bring it all into your existence.
And what happens with those parents when they go down this rabbit hole?
I mean, it depends. It depends on their relationship. If they are in a relationship, if they're single, if they have a spouse, or if they're working with just a co-parent. It really does depend. I know one of the stories that I can speak to personally that I helped with is mom comes in and it was kind of like she was going down the rabbit hole so intensely when she found out her son was on the spectrum. It was like, what therapy? What can I do? It was so intense that when I met with the husband was like, yeah, everything's good, but I want my wife back. I want to have conversations at the dinner table that does not say the word autism. My child is not autism. He was just like, I just want to go back to normal. My child is the same person after the diagnosis as he was before the diagnosis.
Right.
And so why is the word autism in our house every single day in everything we do? And that was mom's trauma response, respectfully. Mom's trauma response was, how do I help my child? I want to jump in. I want to do the right thing.
Right.
Which is beautiful.
Of course, right? That's what a parent's job is, right?
But then dad goes to work and comes home and it's just autism all around. So what we did is we worked with the parents and we're like, okay, so what if we pick one time a week that you can talk about autism. And mom, you write down everything you think and everything you want to talk about throughout the week, right? And then just one time a week, allow your guys that ability to have a really cool conversation about it and build on it in a way that no one's kind of annoyed by it or feeling like it's running their life, because autism should not run your life. Autism is just an explanation on how we have to learn the brain differently.
Right.
It's actually can be soothing if you can take the information that your child's on the spectrum and learn the right ways to guide the child through things. It could be really soothing. And so for this couple, what we did is, the dad was able to come home now and not have the autism word said all the time, connect again with the child and not feel like that's who he is, or, that kind of stuff. And it really helped calm things down. And to the mom too, we're like, look, you're here and we're learning, and we have to learn slow, because sometimes going slower gets you there faster. So know that you're in the right place. We're getting the information we need, and yeah,
it's not a race, it's a marathon, right?
Yeah, it's
a life.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And that's the thing. I think when you get the diagnosis, when you're at that climax, you're like, sprint time.
Yeah,
and it's like there's no autism's not going to go away. So we got a lot to learn,
right?
But we have time. And if you just slow down and just try and love the process with your kiddo or with whatever family is around or friends that'll have you, it doesn't have to be this scary phase.
So that's going to be a good first tip, is to actually slow down, deep breath, calm, like slow is fast.
Slow is fast. We talk a lot about co-regulation. And the definition of co-regulation that we talk about is equal responsibility for being in an activity together. And so what might happen is mom or dad is Googling everything in a panic, or they're in crisis mode, but their child's on the couch on their iPad. Connection is key, and the relationship with that child is key. That's why there's some social deficits in autism. And so if that's the case, then the number one thing that we can do for our children is to co-regulate and be in an activity with them. If all we did for the first little bit is slow down and have intentional effort of being with our children in the activity with them, we can provide this environment for them where they can be themselves with us. And it puts us in this really cool driver's seat to be able to help guide them through whatever they're about to go through in life.
So it sounds like there's a lot of common mistakes parents make when they first get that diagnosis.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through, either through stories in your own experience or what you've seen parents, what those common mistakes are, and how can these parents avoid, like for instance, not sprinting, just taking a deep breath, slow is fast, calm down. But what are some big mistakes you see parents are making?
Well, going back to my own experience, I'm lucky enough to have known. Like I already knew, I already had the research, I already had the knowledge, we talked a lot to T. We knew what we were about to go into. For me with T in that moment, it was about slowing down. There's this concept we talk a lot about, which is the memory bank experiences. So what I mean by that is every interaction we have with our children is an opportunity to create a positive memory bank experience, a negative memory bank experience, or a neutral. And neutral and positives are great. Positives are amazing, but we can't always be positive. Neutral is great. It's safe. But negative memory bank experiences for these kiddos with autism can create they're not pockets of PTSD. I won't say that, but I would say an accumulation of negative memories and negative moments can create almost PTSD-like anxiety. So what I mean by that, and if we can slow it down when it comes to the diagnosis, is depending on the age of the child, if the child is 2 or 3 and doesn't understand what they're diagnosed with, I mean, we have some time, right? But if we're talking about in my scenario where Tegan was 17 and he's learning about himself, and this is heavy on him. He's been questioning his brain for a few years at this point. We had to really slow it down and make sure that the memory bank experience of finding out is not a negative one. It could be neutral. We could try and make it positive, but we were doing our best to not make it negative. So we were lucky enough to kind of know how to talk to him about it, how to make it an okay thing. And we were able to guide him through that successfully, which is great.
Is that just like a perspective? Like you're teaching them about, oh, look at the different side of it? Like there's two sides to a coin kind of thing, or no?
Absolutely perspective, but also him feeling like he belongs because he can have his own feelings and his own say.
I see.
It's really important that he knows that this is his body, it's his brain, it's his journey, it's his choices. And so slowing it down and hearing what was important to him and what he wanted. We didn't want him to have this assessment if he didn't want to have this assessment. He was curious about his brain. What actually happened was...
So you actually brought him into the decision-making process, it sounds like, almost.
Yeah, and we actually did it back in the day when it first started, is we definitely knew he had ADHD. Now, I knew he was autistic as well, but I was just bonus mom. Like I wasn't yet in a scenario where I'm going to intensely be like, hey, T, do you know you may be on the spectrum? So what we did is he had a lot of ADHD and he had a lot of anxiety, a ton of anxiety. He was in high school. He was not coping every day. And he would come home and we would sit on the patio often, and he would often verbal process. So verbal processing is when your thought process comes out as you're talking. So almost all of his decisions he'll make while talking.
Yes, I know it well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he'll talk for hours and not even need anybody else to talk back with him. And so
that's most of our dinners
there
with my 16-year-old daughter.
There you go. She likes to verbal process.
Yeah.
I love it. So Tegan was verbal processing, and he was sharing how he was really frustrated with his brain because he was realizing it's so different than his peers at school. He was it was every day he was challenged, and he was needing to come home because his anxiety was so heightened. And he wasn't able to pay attention to what the teacher was saying in class anymore because his sensory processing was so heightened that it inflamed his anxiety, that it inflamed his ADHD.
And just goes on and on and on. Right?
Yeah. And so we sat with him and we were like, Steve and I already had like an idea of how we're going to approach it with him. And we sat with him and we were like, hey, T, let's go through these symptoms and you tell me what you think. And so we just went through these symptoms. It was of ADHD at the time. And he's like, that's absolutely me. I'm like, well, are you interested in maybe going and getting checked by someone? He's like, yeah, absolutely. And so we did. But what we did is we went to a clinic, and when we called, we're like, hey, can you do ADHD? But we also think he's on the spectrum. So like we haven't told him yet that we think he's on the spectrum, but can you help us out here? Like, oh yeah, we could do that assessment. We'll do an ADHD screener, no problem. And we kind of whipped through that. We're like, all right. So we invested about $4,000. We went and we did this ADHD assessment and ASD screener to realize, and this is early in my career, so I didn't know this yet, to realize that the ADHD or the autism screener is just a screener. It's not an actual diagnosis.
Oh, geez.
Okay. So they did that component. They're like, oh yeah, we think he's on the spectrum. You need to go get him diagnosed. We're like, oh, I thought that's what we were here for.
Oh, man.
So then we had to do another diagnosis.
So that's a big
another
mistake
private. Well,
to avoid.
I mean, it was good because we learned a lot about him. They were able to slow down and teach him.
Yeah.
We had a really good report that came with it that understood
but
his
you
brain
didn't get
fully.
the result that you wanted.
No,
right?
it was just step one. But it was enough for him to now know, okay. Yeah, I'm possibly on the spectrum as well. Let's keep going with this. But every step of the way, it absolutely was his choice. And it was his choice because he was curious about his brain and he wanted to help.
So let's help parents guide these parents through kind of a process to going from this chaotic, lost sprint to slowing down, confident. And I think the biggest thing is belief that they can have a great life with their kid. How would you help them, walk us through kind of the process that you guys developed to get them to a place where they're confident with their child, they're connecting with their child, and they're calm?
I think the best piece of advice or the best thing that people can do is realize that self-care matters. I think that we're in a hectic world and we're in a hectic economy where so many people are working 1 or 2 jobs. Both parents are working. Finances are piling up. Getting a private assessment's expensive. My child might be on the spectrum. It's a chaotic world. I think the more stress you have on your plate, the more self-care you need. More stress, more self-care. You have to neutralize it. I think in order to get a child through an assessment in a way that is neutral or a positive experience for them, we have to be regulated ourselves. It's the same analogy as when you're on the airplane, you have the flight attendant saying, okay, if something happens and the oxygen masks come down, put it on yourself first. Because if you pass out, how can you help your kiddo? It's the same thing. We really, as parents, we have to, and like hear it from me now, give yourself permission for self-care. Like
Yeah.
you have to slow it down. You have to take care of yourself. You have to realize who you are, be confident in yourself, and then co-regulate. Everything
Because your
is
child
about-
will notice.
Absolutely. If you're like, oh my gosh, you might be on the spectrum. We have this appointment. Let's go. Get your shoes on. We got to whip it out. No, like give a half-hour notice. We're going to go for this assessment. Slow it down. Come up with a way that you're going to go get your favorite treat on the way. Let's go get your favorite drink from Starbucks. Let's go get a cake pop. Like not as a reward, but as like a, let's make this experience at least a neutral one. Okay. Like at the bare minimum, but you can't do that if you're in crisis mode. And 90% of parents are in crisis mode at any given moment. And
you know what makes me think about is like, when I'm with, for example, my parents, anything travel related that's like longer than an hour is like stressful for them. And when they get stressed, I get stressed.
100%.
And it could be because they're my parents, but like, I think that if we are, surrounding ourselves with that at every level, I mean, I'm in my 30s, I'm still getting stressed out with my parents wanting to go to Vancouver. We're in Chilliwack. It's an hour and a half away. And it's like, we don't have to stress out about this, So you saying that resonates a lot. Like, wow, like if that can happen at this level, imagine what can happen with your kids.
Absolutely. If you're very calm and you're confident and you know that you got this, if your child's diagnosed and the answer is yes, they're on the spectrum, you got to be okay. You got to walk into it and you got to be okay. Before, my biggest tip is before you go and do it, make sure you're okay with the outcome. It's kind of, that age-old thing where it's like, don't ask a question if you don't want the answer. Go into it. Go into it being okay with it's yes, your child's on the spectrum.
You have to accept it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you have to accept it ahead of time. That's the key, I think. And then take it slow. Go home. Don't go home and call 8 friends, post it on social media, freak out, go down the rabbit hole of Google. Go home, run yourself a bath. Read a book to your child before bed. Feel every little pocket that you can of connection. Because in autism, one of the deficits of autism is that connectivity and the ability to be co-regulated often. And parents lose this opportunity to guide because of that. And if your child is allowing you to be part of their world and part of their activities, slow it down and appreciate every moment, because every moment matters. And the more that you can slow it down and appreciate the moment, the more that you can see that you're in control, mom or dad, and you've got this. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just different. And it could be really inspiring, because we have seen parents go from being in crisis to actually enjoying their life. And where they thought that autism is a long-term phase or a long-term thing that's going to impact their life so negatively, it actually did the polar opposite, because we helped them get out of crisis mode.
Right.
And now they're living in the self-care zone. And now they're more regulated because they had to be for their child. And now they're in a happier state of mind than they were before the diagnosis.
So is that any parent that comes into Ausome Match, is that something you recommend as one of the first steps, is helping them regulate before actually moving on to the child, like supporting the actual parents?
Rest and recover, put your oxygen mask on. Let's figure it out together. Let's figure out what type of strategies we can do for your specific family to help with that.
How do you help the parents who are a little bit already in that crisis? Like, I imagine some parents watching, listening to this right now feeling, well, how can I relax when my kid has autism? Like, how can I, like, there's like, do you have any tips or tricks to help those parents that are like already feel guilty, like you said, about relaxing after this diagnosis?
Again, it's really gonna depend, because the spectrum is so.
Yes.
We have some kiddos who, you watch them and you can't take your eye off of them for 10 seconds. Right? There's safety hazards, there's flight risks, there's stranger danger, there's a lot going on there. Some have self-injurious behaviors, so it's really tough to tell. Let's say a single parent. It's really hard to say to a single parent that can't take their eyes off their child to take a break and do self-care and go run a bath. Especially ones like sometimes some children, a lot of children have problems sleeping as well. So it's also tough to be like, put your child to bed early, and then you have an hour or two before bed. They might look at us and be like, that's cute. What kind of melatonin is going to help with that? But I mean, honestly, I think, so if you're in a scenario where your phase is extreme and the amount of attention that the child needs is 100%, it's a lot more difficult. I would say the advice at 100% attention needed as a parent would be find friends, find respite, find your family, ask them to come and help for a couple hours so you can go do self-care. Check in with yourself.
Yeah.
Breathe. Know that this is something that absolutely we can go through together. You have people to depend on. There's, even if like not engaged with Ausome Match or RDI, there's so much great information out there on how to stay regulated and how to help guide your child through their many phases that they're going through. So I think knowledge is power. Like with any kind of stress, right?
Right.
On the other side of stress is action. So if the way to get rid of stress is action, and you're stressed and you can't get out of crisis mode, you have to take action. But how do you take action if there's 100% of the time you have to be with your child? So get respite, do some self-care, do some planning, do a vision board for you and your child. Choose what kind of life you want to have in 5 years or 10 years. And know that is absolutely possible into its best that you can if you're learning. And so I think the relief from stress is action.
I think too, parents need to see other parents being successful.
Yeah.
I think hope, from listening to you, the word pops up in my head of this, like, give them hope.
Yeah.
You have an amazing community since you and I started to work together.
Yeah.
Of parents supporting each other and growing together.
Yeah.
And you're not alone. You have a real community. And I always like to say, like, any great sport is not done alone.
Yeah.
Like any sport that we all watch, whether it be business or basketball, football, whatever like sport you like to watch, it is done as a team. Yeah. And I think parenting, even if you're a single parent, you can find friends, you can find family, you can find other parents who are struggling just like you.
Well, here's my analogy as a fluffy girl, right? Here's my analogy, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, is you can go ahead and you can, I'm just going to use this analogy, put it out there. You can go and you can read a book about ketosis because you want to be healthy or about fasting or anything like that.
Yeah.
And you're reading the book and you're inspired and you're doing the things for like 2 weeks, maybe a month. Maybe you're successful, but it's a lot harder. You would have to be very disciplined. And if we were very disciplined, we wouldn't be in this scenario.
Yeah.
And I know I've been almost 400 pounds once before. So, let's say you get a weight loss coach, and you get a weight loss coach, and that weight loss coach or a health coach, let's say, or a longevity coach, let's say, then you're inspired by that person. You're taking action because you have someone that you're accountable to, and you have someone that's inspiring you. So it's a lot easier. Co-regulation is a big deal. Relationships are a big, big deal. Taking something on by reading a book is not a relationship-driven action that you're going to take, and therefore it might not be as successful. Now, say I'm with a lifestyle longevity coach, and I lose all my weight, and I'm going to the gym with them, and I'm eating all the foods they're saying, and I'm super inspired, and I've changed my world, and I'm like, okay, we got it. We reached our goal weight. We reached our goal health status. Blood work looks good. Everything looks good. I don't need you anymore. Thank you. Then what's going to happen? That weight's going to creep back on. And you have to say that this is like autism doesn't go away, right? And so us as parents of autistic children, we need to learn that we are their guide. We are their North Star. Their brain circuitry is a little different. That's why we're here. So our jobs as a parent is to guide them through, guide the child through. So in order to do that, we too need to be regulated. We too need to have self-care. And that's what we do in RDI, is we're the life coach for parents of children on the spectrum. And it's important that you have them, and it's important that you don't deviate from that, because once you do, it just comes back. It's so important to be inspired, to stay focused, to have someone in your corner, like you said, to have community. Because if you're just going to pick up a book or scroll on social media, that's not going to stick long term.
For 90% of people, it's not.
For 90% of people, I mean, there's the discipline for you that
of
absolutely
course.
go self-learn, do the things. I mean, I did until I created my own community. And I can tell you, it was so much harder. It doesn't feel the same as when you're with a community of people like-minded that are going through the same things you are.
I think you gain belief in yourself when you're in a community like that.
Yeah.
And you see others succeeding, thriving, having fun, connecting with the child, having the best life. That's what every parent wants, right?
Or if I can add to that, have grace in yourself when you do fall a little bit. Like, see that making mistakes is a normal part of it. See that you're not going to be a perfect parent 100% of the time. See that it's okay to fall, but then be inspired to get back up and have grace.
Okay, so we're telling our parents, these parents, that, okay, they need to be self-regulated. They need to find a community. They need to find a therapy. How do they find this therapy? How do they, what are some steps or some advice you have around finding either a therapist or RDI or you guys? Like, I guess what I want to say, what makes you guys different? Like, why should someone go with Ausome Match, and how is your therapy style different than anyone else?
I'm going to be biased. I really love my team.
I hope you be biased.
I really do. Well, our team, honestly, our team is what makes it. We have the best team. Honestly, like when I learned about RDI, I was so obsessed. And I went to school to do RDI. And with all my heart, I know this sounds really weird, I say it sometimes to my team, I'm so jealous of the RDI consultants. Now, I don't practice RDI a lot like for my career because I own Ausome Match and I really want to develop it. But I think for me, I'm very, very obsessed about helping as many children as humanly possible. I have this goal of creating 1 million positive memory bank experiences for children and teens and adults on the spectrum. And in order to do that, I have to multiply myself. So instead of myself being a practicing RDI consultant where I can help 10 or 30 families at a time, I took our staff and ones that have the educational backing to start this journey, and we've sponsored these RDI consultants. So what makes Ausome Match unique is the fact that the people. Everyone that is all of our RDI consultants have been sponsored to do their schooling, other than Miss Robin. I met her in RDI schooling. I thought she was absolutely amazing. But they come here and they were already people that were with us. We already knew them. We already knew how passionate they were. We already saw their work with children. We saw organically that they were able to do it. So these are consultants that have been there, done that, got the t-shirt, but did it effectively, did it beautifully. They already made wild differences in many children that they've supported as a behavioral interventionist, and they elevated their position and their understanding on autism to become a consultant and get that extra schooling to be able to help all these families.
Something I've noticed that makes you guys stand out, at least in my experience, is like the community aspect. You guys have a very strong community.
Yeah.
Locally, you're starting to build it online.
Yeah.
And I think that makes you guys stand out. Like you said, like part of this is having belief.
Yeah.
And that belief comes from seeing other families succeed in these programs and knowing that, hey, I could, go out with friends who also share the same experiences. Because I'm sure some of the parents watching, listening are like, none of my friends or family will understand what I'm going through. And it feels lonely at times.
Yeah.
It feels like I have no hope. And so when you're in a community like that, you start to have hope. You start to believe that I could still have an amazing life with my child. I can be my best self. I could still travel or do whatever my hopes and dreams are with my children. With the support of someone like you guys and your awesome team. And I guess what I want to know is there anything that breaks your heart about this industry that you are trying to change?
Oh, now we're going down emotional. This is going to cry. Yeah, I mean, well, I got like 20 things. We got time for this? Number one, what breaks my heart is funding. It depends on who's watching this and what their funding is like, where they are. I know here in BC,
some people may not know they can get funding.
It depends on where you are. I mean, BC actually, sadly, is the best in Canada for provinces, and in the states is all based on their employment benefits and stuff like that. If they have it, from what I understand. Here in Canada, BC is the best, and it's like $6,000 a year, and 4 kids over the age of 6. And then you go to somewhere like the UK and there's funding for 40 hours a week of therapy.
Wow.
So it depends on where you are,
Mhm.
right? So if you say, what angers me about this industry? Number one, 6,000 is not enough. But it's not enough because I think we don't know what we don't know. And I feel like a lot of parents, once they have the diagnosis, or even maybe they had the diagnosis for a few years, once they are at a point that they feel like, wow, I really need help right now. I know for me, in my experience, that point was really when, sadly, I was working a lot, like most parents are.
Mhm.
Steve was working a lot, like most parents are. And T can't schedule his anxiety around our work schedule. And his anxiety got so great. We're like, we really, really, really need help. And some parents will wait until there's something big that happens and then they need help, which is reactive, not proactive. I think the biggest mistake in this industry, or the biggest thing that causes stress for me, or that is that we think that dropping our child off for therapy for 2 hours a week is the resolve. And that's what angers me about this industry, is that
the parents don't do work?
Yeah. Like there's 160 something hours a week we have, right? Because dropping our child off for 2 hours a week for therapy, while it can be very powerful, while it's very important that children have a safe person to go to, a person that can be there for them, co-regulate with them, teach them these techniques. It's very, 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 very powerful. However, if they're coming to our environment and they're coming to our clinic, and they're coming and they're having therapy, or wherever they are in the world, and they're going to therapy, that is one person that has them for a few hours. Their parents are the guiding light. What happens at home is so instrumental. So with this industry, what's really tough is everyone is basing therapy choices on how we evaluated therapy 40 years ago. Is a child being compliant? Is a child tying their shoes when they ask them to? Is the child holding the pen the way that we ask them to?
Right.
Is the child being more neurotypical appearing? Is the child masking? There's not enough neuro-affirming practices where we're going in and we're saying, okay, are they saying the words? Are they speaking? Are they having full conversations?
Obedience.
Absolutely, it's compliance. And that was so 40 years ago. And what we know now throughout this, as we are speaking more to now adults on the spectrum who have been through these therapies, is they were like, why? Why did you care how I held a pen? Why did I have to tie my shoes at 6? Why was it so important that I can tell you a sentence when I didn't even want to connect with you in the first place? We missed out on so many opportunities, and those moments created negative memory bank experiences. So back to your question on what I feel is the saddest thing about this industry is that parents have the power and the ability with knowledge, because knowledge is power, and we don't know what we don't know. But parents have this huge ability to make change. And I think what angers me is we don't talk enough. So Kyler, I don't think we shared yet, but the statistic is adults on the spectrum have a 4 times more likelihood of having anxiety, depression, and 7 times more likely of suicidal thoughts. 65, and this is where I get emotional, 65% of adults on the spectrum have suicidal thoughts and 35% attempt. And that's a high number. When usually it's 2% of neurotypical peers. It's a high number. Ask ourselves as parents, we have a responsibility as parents to ask ourselves, what can we do? Why is it like this? And do I have power? And what angers me is parents have power, but they don't know they do. They're getting the diagnosis. They get a pamphlet from their doctor saying, go to ABA, go get an occupational therapist, an SLP. And while all of those professions are severely powerful, I love them. I'm here for them. I'm right beside, and I'm acknowledging them, and I'm recognizing their power. But parents don't realize the power within them because they're not told. Where's the pamphlets from the doctors after the diagnosis saying, hey, this may happen to your child in adulthood, and you have the power to kind of reverse engineer and make all these really positive memory bank experiences. A happy child is not going to equal an unhappy adult. And happy adults start in childhood.
It's like the same thing. It's like, well, I send my kid to school. Why aren't they, why, like they are giving, they're not taking ownership of their role in raising the child and giving it to the school, or in this case, the therapist, to raise their child when it's only, as you mentioned, only a couple hours a week. Like the work is also on the parents, is what I'm hearing. And that if you don't want this stat to be a stat, it is up to each and every one of us as parents to, even kids without autism, to be the role model and set the standard that you want your kids to live by. And of course, there's a spectrum. So some kids are a little harder than others, right? And so there is degrees to that. But what I'm hearing is the work is as important of the parents to go as it is the child.
Absolutely. And I think parents are like, oh, I don't have the time, or I don't have the resources, or I'm in crisis mode, or I can't learn anything right now. I have to work 2 jobs. It's really easy tax. Meeting with us is really us learning about your scenario and giving you all of these tips and fundamental kind of hacks to do. It's as simple as declarative language, let me say. And declarative language could be as simple as using statements like, I wonder. So when you're using statements like I wonder with your child, we have a lot of parents that come to us and like, my child has really disruptive behaviors in class, or they have PDA-like tendencies. And they don't realize that when they talk a different way, we're programmed. We're programmed based on the way that we've been parented, right? And we're just organically are the way we've been parented, and that feels normal and natural. And having to create this new character as a parent who is neuroaffirming for our child is going to be uncomfortable for us as parents. But it's also very simple and very liberating. I think the biggest advice is give yourself grace to take years to create the character you need to be for your child. That's okay for it to take years. Slow it down and master each hack like a ninja, and just go in with your kid and have fun. Okay, use a lot of I wonder statements, right? Like I'm going to give an example. Say we are having dinner. T likes to walk up and leave. He has ADHD. He has impulse control. He's like, I'm done eating here. I'm out. Right. Good. And sometimes he'll just leave his plate. Sometimes he'll go put the plate on the counter. I'm like, hey, T, I wonder if we can rinse that dish and put it in the dishwasher, if that might be a little easier for me.
I'm going to start using that.
It's not like, hey, T, why isn't it in the dishwasher? I wonder how we can get that in the dishwasher and stuff, right? Like it makes it kind of like a fun conversation. So then the child doesn't take it as a demand. They're just like,
which will cause a fight, which will cause
I could just rinse my dish and put it in the dishwasher. Like life gets so much easier when you use these hacks. And your household is in so much more zen. And there's such a co-regulated, calming feeling about it. I know for T, I won't share too much. I know T mentions that he might want to chit chat one day on a podcast or so.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kind of have his words said. But I know for him, when I met him, his sensory processing was so inflamed, and he didn't know that about himself because he didn't have that kind of recognition. And when we ended up living together and the environment settled for him, and he felt he was in a different environment and there was less noise and the home felt a different way, maybe a little bit more organized. There's just a little differences between the two environments. He started learning his body can feel when it's calm and can feel the chaos. And then he started advocating for himself. And now what used to be a chaotic brain in environments is now so zen that he protects it at all costs. And I think that that's beautiful to some degree. I mean, obviously we want to him to be exposed to uncomfortableness to see he could do hard things and master that. But I think what parents really need to know is they can learn simple things, take the time to master it, and your life in your home and your child's life is so much more comforting. It feels like,
and who doesn't want that in the house?
Who doesn't want this?
Any parents?
It's funny because they come in crisis mode. They're like, help, it's crisis mode. You're like, exhale. Okay.
Take a deep breath. The rest of the episode will be whispering. Okay. I'm just kidding.
Let's do some yoga moves. I don't know yoga, but we can pretend.
Maybe one episode.
We'll do some box breathing.
Like, all right, let's. Is there any other thing that we haven't talked about that the parents need to know? Again, the state of this parent is they just got the diagnosis, right? Maybe they're day 1, week 1, month 1, year 1. But the point is, we want to help these parents, right? Navigate the very confusing, the very muddy waters that is, and we're still discovering things, right? With autism, especially with children. Any more advice that you can think about, you want to share
Can I
with
ask you
these
something?
parents? Of course.
Do you believe in the power of belief?
110%.
Okay. So if we're just getting the diagnosis and we're going down the rabbit hole and we see all the negative about autism, our brains are going to go into who's my child going to be in their 20s and 30s. The statistic is going to tell you your child's going to be anxious. And sadly, in my emotional moment, we're going through that with T. And so it's really highlighted for me right now. It's a difficult world to see it happen when they do become this age where the anxiety is so riddling. Like I talk all the time that I just want to go into T's brain and give it a big hug.
Yeah.
I think that what we haven't mentioned is if you can believe in something and your beliefs are your reality, if you believe that your child is going to grow up and possibly be one of these statistics of anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts, that absolutely can happen because you're succumbing to that statistic.
Yeah.
I want parents to know that you can also believe that your child is going to be happy and that they're going to be as effective in their life as we could possibly help them. We have the ability to guide them. We have the ability to do that in a way that can feel fun and calming with permission for self-care. It can be a beautiful journey. It can be super positive. It doesn't have to be the negative statistic. And I loudly from the top of my lungs want parents to know that the statistic is reality. And when you hit it, it's so painful. And preventing it is so much more beautiful than having to react to it later. And I do feel like there's so many wonderful ways of doing that have such power. And it takes time. I think parents think that if they put their child in a certain therapy or if they try something for a month or 2 or 3 or 4 or even a year and they're like, this therapy isn't working or the declarative language doesn't work. Autism is a journey. And these kiddos are going to go through different phases in their life. They're going to go through first day of kindergarten, first kiss, first love, first grad, first car.
Like all of us.
All the firsts. And so every phase is going to look different. And pubescent age is kind of the worst. It kind of heightens and inflames a lot of symptoms that they have. And I truly feel like parents that just diagnosed, please have faith in yourself, have grace in yourself, give yourself permission to go slow, have optimism, believe that it's possible, do a vision board for yourself and for your child that is realistic and happy, and just work every day connecting the dots from the bottom. You know, you can't do a connect Steve Jobs quote somewhere along. I don't know how it goes specifically, but Steve Jobs said something about, you know, the connected dots. You can't start from the beginning and you have to know where you're going in order to connect the dots from the beginning. You have to start from the end. So start from the end. Picture what your life is going to be like, or how do you want your life like, parent, when your child is in their 20s and in their 30s, and know that you can absolutely have the most beautiful that you possibly can. And there are ways of guiding and there are ways of doing it. And so if I can say anything to those parents, it's give yourself grace, love yourself through it, breathe. It's going to be okay. And just learn and make it fun and self-care.
Belief.
Absolute belief. If you don't believe it, it's not going to happen.
Belief creates reality.
Belief. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to butcher this, but a really cool example of this to maybe land the playing field on this conversation is there's a study done where they asked, I don't know how many, let's say 10 people. They said, I want you to count all the pictures in this newspaper. And around page 4 or 5, it said there's 42 images in this newspaper. And I think about 50% closed it and then confidently said there's 42 pages in this. And the other 50% never saw that ad, never saw the 42 that kept going on. And the reason that I'm sharing this is because the people that believed that they were lucky or they just had more positive thinking in their mind saw that. And the people who didn't see it, didn't believe they're lucky, didn't believe, in that life happened to them, that they don't create life. And so by believing, you actually see opportunity and you create your own reality. I butchered that completely. But the point of it is that we can create our own reality, to your point. if we believe in, from what I'm taking from this conversation is that is the first big step, is believing that you will be okay, and you will then see the opportunities arise, like Awesome Match, like all the amazing programs you guys have. I know you have a lot to help with the different types of autism and different on different stages and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot, just as my wife is going to be giving birth in a month.
Yeah.
And just as a parent itself, I'm going to take some of this advice. But as we're kind of landing this conversation, I always like to give people action, right? You talked about earlier that the opposite of like the fear and frustration, chaos is action.
Yeah.
What action do you want listeners and watchers to take?
You're the sum of the top 5 people you hang out with. Find your tribe. Number 1, I mean, therapy aside, but your tribe can be people who are also in a community, who are also going through the same thing, but are devoted to the optimistic approach and are devoted to learning these little hacks that can safeguard these children going into adulthood's mental health. So you're the sum of the top 5 people. Hack, find your human, find your tribe, and don't let anyone tell you anything different. Don't believe the negatives.
Love that.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, learn about Awesome Match, connect with you, maybe want to join the community or hire you guys? Where can they find you guys online?
Yeah, we're www.awesomematch.com. We'll keep it that simple. You can book a discovery call at any time or click on any of the links there and we'll get you in touch. And we have a pretty rad team that I'm sure you'll find a lot of relief in talking to.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. And thank you for coming on the pod. This has been an amazing conversation. I learned a lot. And if you want to check out all the links, they'll be in the description down below.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kyler. Cheers.